For people who maybe aren't familiar with you, talk a little bit about your background and why exactly you're running in this race.
Yeah, sure. I'm the non-traditional candidate. I'm a conservative outsider that's running for Congress. When people in my area, up in the Fresno Clovis area, folks know me. I own Club One Casino, which is a good-sized casino card room up there. I'm president of the California Gaming Association, which represents card rooms statewide, so I get some visibility on that. And I'm also very active in our whole animal community up there through chairing the Fresno Zoo and giving back to the community through my foundation. But I got into the race, candidly, because I felt like as part of where I am in my career, I'm giving back. Always had an eye to politics, but there's not really a path for a non-career politician, frankly, in a blue state, right? But we happen to live in a red state, in the middle of a blue state, and when the opportunity opened up, I asked some guys, I said, hey, what do you think? And got a lot of positive feedback, so here I am.
And so looking a little bit at the field, we talked about, I think there's about 11 candidates in this race now.
Right.
And you talk about how you don't have a lot of specifically political, elected office experience.
Right.
Do you feel like that almost kind of sets you apart from some of these people? I mean, especially like, Vince Fong, for example,
Sure.
Who's turning into essentially a career politician.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not the career politician,
yeah.
right? I'm the conservative outsider that's running this. I've always had my eye to politics, and I have been engaged in that. So I definitely understand how it works and how it works at least state, local, and I'm going to find out on the national level. I feel like there's not enough of that in our politics today. We need more practical business experience, people that know how to put their emotions in check or separate the drama from the real data and figure out, okay, how are we going to get to a solution here? And importantly, how to do it on a budget, right? In my business, it's not enough for me to say, oh, well, listen, I'm just going to issue a few more T-bills to the Chinese or Japanese and I'll let the next generation deal with it. That doesn't work, right? You have to solve problems. And I think we need more of that. I'd like to see more of that. And certainly, President Trump opened the door for that in 2016. Maybe even Governor Schwarzenegger, same thing. Said, listen, there's an opportunity for someone that's a non-career politician to get in and have an impact.
And so let's kind of dive into some of the issues.
Okay.
We just talked about the economy a little bit there. What do you what do you want people to know about your status on the economy, and how are you going to make that better for people in the Central Valley?
Yeah. So I look at the economy today, and the Biden administration will trumpet where the stock market is or unemployment, and I think those are false indicators for them. I think that a lot of that is legacy from the prior administration, and also too, ask anybody that's struggling to pay for housing, rent, housing, healthcare, food, energy, any of those things. They're saying, hey, what about me, right? And I feel like when I look at that, my approach is, I see what the Biden administration has done to basically lean in and suffocate businesses. I mean, there's an inherent bias of the administrations, both California and national today, that business is inherently evil, and it's not. So, I look at that and say, there are flawed policies with respect to regulation. There's flawed policies with respect to taxation and excessive spending, right? I'm very much in, hey, what's the budget? And, how are we going to pay for this, right? And if we are going to borrow money, how are we going to pay it back? Right? Because it doesn't, we don't all have credit cards where, listen, oh, my credit card's maxed out. I think I'll just call and increase the balance, right? That doesn't work for the American public, and it shouldn't work for us as government.
But switching to another obviously very important issues, immigration and the selection cycle and the border. There are kind of it's a very nuanced subject, obviously, and there's a lot of different ways that people are looking at how we can solve this crisis. How do you see the issue at the border, and how would you like to see it solved? Yeah,
I mean, it's obviously complicated. It's obviously one that people can dig in, but it's also one that's rooted in logistics and fairness. I'm in favor of legal immigration. I'm not in favor of chaos at the border and policies that put that in place, right? And I think you can look to the policies, the open border policies of the Biden administration, which were dramatically different than the prior administration, signing an executive order that basically said, hey, listen, we're not going to really enforce these things, come on in. And as a business person, I would look at that and say, oh, okay, it's not a surprise to me that it went from 400,000 people a year to 2.2 million. I think immigration needs a significant overhaul, but first and foremost, we need to stop the inflow into the United States and, put up a symbolic no vacancy sign, for the time being, until we can figure out how do we get this process under control, right? Chaos isn't working, and that jeopardizes, frankly, our quality of life, our national security, right? We can't screen folks. We don't know what drugs or criminal elements are coming across, right? And that's a problem.
Shifting gears from the border a little bit, obviously another big issue right now, especially over the last couple of months, I mean years really, is the conflicts in Europe, specifically in the Middle East and over in Ukraine. Let's focus on Ukraine first.
Sure.
That's kind of been a hot button issue for Republicans. There's kind of been a lot of talk. There's been a split, I guess you would say, in the Republican camp. There's some that say we need to stop funding, this conflict in Ukraine,
right.
And there's others like McCarthy, was the representative of this district, and says we need to keep supporting that. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, listen, I want to support our allies around the world. I also want, I think there's a lot of resentment in America funding other folks' conflict, right? And with money that we don't have, right? Raising money by selling, again, raising money, borrowing money from someone else to pay for someone else's conflict when we're struggling to resolve our own. And I think one of the reactions that people have, and certainly I do, is when all these things are bundled into bills. And I appreciate that there's negotiation and there's give and take, trying to find resolution. But I think when some of these problems are solved by putting these gargantuan bills together that no one really reads and understands, that has a bunch of other stuff in there that isn't germane to the problem at hand, that's where people get frustrated. As a business person, I want to know that my money's being used correctly. You can tax me, right? But I want to see that it's used correctly. The situation in Israel and Gaza, more clear-cut for me. I mean, in my mind, Israel has the moral high ground there, and always been an ally of the United States, and we need to be a staunch ally of them. They were attacked by a terrorist-supported government, and that doesn't work for me.
Kind of transitioning now a little bit more, more to a local issue. Agriculture obviously is a big industry in this region and just California in general. Do you have any background in the agriculture sector, and where would you like to see improvements in that sector to make these people in this industry feel more supported?
Well, we all have to live and work in the Central Valley and not be touched by agriculture and see what it does for our economy. I've got operations up outside of Visalia, so I see a lot of farmers in Tulare County and through there. Know a lot of farmers, try to get feedback from them, have some good friends and they're small farmers and some good friends that are big farmers. So what I'm finding is fundamentally, they want a reliable source of water. They want, relief from unnecessary regulations. They want some people that are coming down and understanding what they're doing in terms of feeding the nation, right, and how important they are to the country and even our national security, coming down and listening to them. I'm not going to tell you I'm the agriculture expert, right, but I do know who I'd turn to and the types of folks that I would and who I'd listen to make sure that we're knowledgeable. But fundamentally, hey, listen, if we're going to keep, eating, right, we need to provide a steady flow of water to folks and a reliable flow of water.
Okay, great. Well, thank
Perfect.
you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Michael, thank you.